Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. My name is Kimon Hatza and I'm a business attorney and partner at GrowthCounsel LLC in Philadelphia. I focus my practice in the areas of life sciences, healthcare, and technology. Tonight, we're continuing our special series on life sciences and technology leaders in the Delaware Valley. Before we get started, I want to remind our viewers that from time to time, financial issues relating to life sciences, technology, or healthcare matters or companies will be discussed on the show. These discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since the show is pre-recorded and shown at a later time, the information may no longer be current. You should always check with your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. I'm happy to have with me as my co-host this evening, Charlie Huntington. Charlie is the head of public relations for Life Sciences PA. Life Sciences PA is the voice of advancement for the life sciences in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Charlie, thank you for co-hosting.
Pleasure, Kimon. Happy to be here.
Charlie, it's been a tough year. the last 13 or 14 months of the pandemic for organizations like Life Sciences PA that sponsor so many events and programs. I was just wondering whether you could share with our viewers any events or programs that are upcoming in the near term.
Sure. Well, I want to highlight one that is actually going on the day of this recording. And yesterday, it was their workplace event. It went very well. They had speakers that covered everything from COVID to how we can safely go back to the workplace, whether you can ask your employees about vaccinations. So it was an excellent, lots of time well spent there. The next program that I would like to call our viewers' attention to is the Advocacy Day program, which will happen virtually this year, and we'll meet with our Harrisburg legislators on the 29th and 30th of April. So I would encourage all of our viewers to go to the Life Sciences PA website, again, lifesciences, plural, PA.org, and check their calendar. And I'm sure it's only going to get more full as things begin to reopen. Thanks, Kimon.
Just quick question, a follow-up question. I know you and I have, on a number of occasions, done the Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Was that held this year, or was because of COVID did it affect?
So all of it's been virtual. That one is run by the National Bio Organization. I did not attend or attempt to attend this year, so it's a very good question. My assumption is that that will continue as usual. It will just be virtual though.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Sure.
As you know, we have a terrific guest on the show this evening, and I'm anxious to bring her out here. But before I do, I just want to remind our viewers that if you have a question that you would like us to answer on a future show, watch this video to see how you do it.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
It's now my great pleasure to introduce our special guest this evening, Dr. Renee Stewart. Dr. Stewart is the co-founder and chief science officer of Levolta Pharmaceuticals, where she oversees the preclinical small molecule program and the patent portfolio. She also does investor and strategic engagement in the Philadelphia area as the company seeks partners for developing its first-in-class disease-modifying treatment for osteoarthritis. Her background includes a PhD in cell and molecular biology and work with viruses. With her husband and business partner, she has been active in establishing IMC Radiology, a company that does radiology reads for clinical trials. They also co-founded IMC Biotechnology, where Renee served as Chief Executive Officer. IMC Biotechnology's small molecule assets were combined with those of Renaissance Pharmaceuticals to form what is now Levolta Pharmaceuticals. Renee is an active member of Women in Bio and is the co-vice chair of the Philadelphia chapter. She has been a driver behind Women in Bio Philadelphia's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative, and is an active member of the Founders Forum within the group. Renee, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kimon, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
A pleasure for us to have you. Renee, what first attracted you to a career in the life sciences?
You know, Kimon, I always enjoyed nature. Loved being outside, loved doing things outside. And when I was an undergrad and took a course in biology, I realized we could really dig into and understand how living things worked. And I just found that fascinating. So I kept taking more science classes and, ended up here.
Okay. How would you say your early entrepreneurial experience at IMC Radiology and as CEO and co-founder of IMC Biotechnology helped prepare you for your entrepreneurial role here at Levolta and also your position as Chief Science Officer there?
Sure. So in running IMC Biotechnology and in IMC Radiology, I really gained an appreciation for the breadth of experiences that are involved in running a company. At IMC Biotech, I was mostly solo and doing bench science and being trained as a scientist. I thought that was the important part, right? Mm-hmm. But I came to realize that all the parts are important. It's not just the bench science, which is important. It's also the thorough understanding of the financials and the overall corporate strategy, how you were going to get things to market, or even if you should take things to market. So it was all of those things, plus building out those relationships within the industry. So I had it was a great opportunity and a great learning opportunity for both of those.
It sounds like it. Are there other experiences that you have been able to draw upon to assist you in your current role?
Absolutely. So unlike many people who are in the role that I'm in, I didn't actually grow up in big pharma. In fact, as I was finishing my postdoc and my husband was finishing a fellowship, he decided that he really wanted to go into pharma. At that point, we had a small child, so I spent several years as a stay-at-home mom while he did the 1.5 to 2 year stints at several different companies. Mm-hmm. In the process, we also ended up homeschooling our son. And that actually turned out to be really surprisingly good training for being an entrepreneur because the mindset is the same. So as a homeschooler, you start with a blank slate, right? And there are a lot of things that you have to make decisions about, and you don't have enough information, but you make the best decisions that you can with the information that you have, and you just jump in and do it. Mm-hmm. And in the process, you find things that work, and you figure out how to build on those. You find things that don't work, and so you throw those out and try something else. And sometimes you think that something like a group or a class should exist, but it doesn't. So you create it, you make it happen. So those are all the same kind of things you do as an entrepreneur. You create, you pivot, you iterate. So I'm very grateful actually to have had that experience. It was not only good for our son, but it was a great experience for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of your role at Levolta?
So I think the most challenging aspect is the breadth of focus that is required. We're a small company. There are 3 of us, myself, co-founder and chief medical officer, Ketan Desai, and our CEO, Richard Becker. So we all wear a lot of hats. And as that, sometimes you're head down, focused on minutia. So, details of expenses or nitty-gritty data analysis. And sometimes you're pulling way back and trying to look big picture at the corporate strategy and talking with the potential investors or potential partners. And of course, everything in between, right? I'm involved in all of it. And that boomeranging along the continuum of activities has been what I found most challenging. Coincidentally, that's the part of the job that I love the most as well. So
that's understandable. Would you say there are one or more aspects of your role that totally surprised you?
Yeah. What really surprised me was how much I enjoy networking. I'm definitely an introvert. And when I started out with this, the thought of going and talking to all these people I didn't know was it was panic inducing. But, you do it. And what I've found is that I really enjoy building relationships with people in the life science ecosystem. It's a talented, smart, driven group of people, and I get to hang out with them.
That's great.
Great to see you, Renee. And indeed, we got to know each other hanging out at a biotech breakfast in Berwyn that's existed for about 20 years. So it's great to be here with you tonight.
Thank you so much, Charlie. It's my pleasure.
Tell us about Levolta.
So Levolta Pharmaceuticals was started in 2013. We are headquartered in the Lehigh Valley here in Pennsylvania and are currently running virtually. Levolta was created from the merger of IMC Biotechnology, which I was CEO of at the time, and Renaissance Pharmaceuticals, which is a company that my husband and business partner, Ketan Desai, had started. So IMC Biotech brought in some early stage preclinical small molecule assets, and Renaissance brought in some reformulation products. So we created a pipeline. Richard Becker also came in as our CEO. Rich, along with Ketan, also grew up at Big Pharma. So we have some nice experience there. Rich ran Merck's Asia Pacific franchise for part of his career and has been with a couple of other larger pharma companies as well as with a couple small pharma companies. So the new company, which is Levolta, had a pipeline. And we thought the really exciting assets were going to be the small molecules, the early stage small molecule assets. However, as Ketan was overseeing a proof of concept study for Volt-01, which we thought was going to be an improvement on an existing drug, right? Kind of, ho-hum. But while he was running that trial, those patients who also had osteoarthritis came back and said, they said things like, yeah, I was fine with the drug, but I haven't walked this well in years. So we said, okay, maybe what we actually have is an osteoarthritis drug. So we took a look at Volt-01 in osteoarthritis, saw positive results, and so have been charging ahead with Volt-01 development since then.
And why is Levolta in this business?
So, broadly speaking, I think we're here for the same reason that so many others are in this business. We want to make the world a better place for patients. Our particular interest is autoimmune and inflammatory diseases, primarily, and in repurposing existing drugs to get those solutions to patients faster. Okay,
so do you want to further describe the company's areas of focus, please?
Sure. So basically, we're concerned with 3 indications right now. One is rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease. One is traumatic brain injury. And the third is osteoarthritis, which is the one that we're developing our lead asset, Volt-01 for. So we're really very excited about the Volt-01 asset for osteoarthritis. It's poised to be the first disease modifier on the market. It's providing patients with long-lasting pain relief. And just to give you a little bit of information about Volt-01, it's actually a novel combination of two known drugs that are off patent. It'll be given as an IV infusion, so the effects will be systemic, affecting multiple joints with a single administration. And we're taking it into final phase 3 clinical trials.
That's great. Does the company have any proprietary IP, Renee?
We do. We've been able to establish a robust portfolio around Volt-01. We have several patents issued here in the United States and patents either issued or pending in all major global markets.
And what stage of development is the company's technology?
So we're headed into phase 3 clinical trials. Those will be the last trials before the new drug application to the FDA.
Okay. All right. So you do require FDA approval, and describe how yes, you do, correct?
Yes, we do.
So can you describe how the approval process has been somewhat expedited for Levolta by virtue of it building upon and repurposing an off-patent pharmaceutical?
Absolutely. So one of the most advantageous things about repurposing a drug is the ability to leverage the known safety data. So we have access to both the initial safety data from the drug's initial approval, as well as years worth of real world evidence from actually being on the market. So there's a significant savings of both time and money in the drug development pathway by repurposing a drug. And this has allowed us to take Volt-01 directly into human clinical trials without having to go back and repeat preclinical bench work and animal studies that would have cost, quite a lot of time and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Do you anticipate other uses for your technology?
Absolutely. There are a number of potential uses. One of the components of our drug is currently on the market for osteoporosis, Paget's disease, and bone metastasis. So we believe that Volt-01 will be applicable to all of those indications. In addition, we think there are some exciting new indications that can be treated with Volt-01. One is psoriatic arthritis. And then there are some orphan indications that we think are particularly interesting. Those include complex regional pain syndrome, or CRPS, and seronegative spondyloarthropathies. And we don't have any trials currently going on with those indications, but we would absolutely be interested in working with researchers or other companies who might have interest in attacking those indications.
Renee, what's your plan for financing and growing the company? Are you looking to grow it organically, or are you looking to partner perhaps with a larger company with a complementary product line or some other mechanism for growth?
So we have a couple of options. We would like to partner with another pharmaceutical company, a mid-size or large pharmaceutical company that, as you mentioned, has a complementary portfolio or is looking for something to build out their own portfolio. We would love to work with another company to finalize Volt-01 development. Ideally, our partner will also have the commercial capabilities to take Volt-01 to all the major markets. So we do see Volt-01 as being a global product. There are something like 300 million patients worldwide. So we're looking at the Americas, at Europe, and at Asia Pacific as potential markets. Another option would be to work with an investment partner to get those phase 3 studies moving, and then partner down the road with another company who can do the commercialization piece.
Mm-hmm. Are there competitive products currently in use in your industry, or is your product unique and unchallenged currently?
So current standard of care for osteoarthritis is all about symptom control and mobility aids. So for symptom control, we're looking at over-the-counter and prescription analgesics, things like the nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories or NSAIDs. So these are ibuprofen, naproxen. We also can use the opioid tramadol as an analgesic. And then we can also do injections directly into the joint, the intra-articular injections. And so these are things like corticosteroids and hyaluronic acid preparations. So these all have issues. Of course, long-term chronic use of the nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories come with stomach, liver, and kidney issues. And then, of course, we know about the addiction issues with the opioids. The other thing that we can do is help people get around. So mobility aids like braces, canes, walkers. When all of these options fail and people can no longer get around, or the pain has gone beyond our ability to control it, many joints can be replaced surgically. And I'm sure everybody's very familiar with the joint replacement surgeries. They've become very common. They've also become a significant cost to our overall healthcare system. At this point, we don't have anything that actually addresses underlying osteoarthritis disease. And that's become very important to patients. In fact, in 2017, the Arthritis Foundation ran an osteoarthritis patient-focused drug development meeting, or PFDD. And these meetings provide the FDA, drug developers, healthcare providers, academic researchers, the opportunity to hear directly from the patients and patient advocates and the caregivers. And they learn about what is really important to the people on the front line, right? And so what came out of that meeting was there are two things that are particularly important to patients. Number one is effective pain control, and number two is something that affects underlying disease. And we think that Volt-01 is going to provide both of those for those patients.
That's a very important distinction from other things that are currently being used. What are the biggest barriers to entry into your industry or industries of focus?
We actually feel like the barrier to entry for Volt-01 will be fairly low. And here's why. As I've said, there's nothing on the market that modifies disease. There's nothing on the market that provides the long-term pain control that we're seeing. So in our phase 2 and in phase 2b3 studies, we saw pain control beyond 6 months with a single administration. There's nothing else on the market that does that. So, and we think that both patients and physicians are going to embrace Volt-01 as an effective strategy for treating osteoarthritis. And we have had some limited conversations with insurance professionals, and we believe that it will be accepted onto the formularies without much issue as well.
Okay. Last one before Charlie has another one for you. What would success look like for Levolta?
So first and foremost, getting this drug into the hands of patients and physicians. We think Volt-01 will be a great opportunity for the right partner with compatibility and the infrastructure to take it to market. So we're looking forward to establishing a deal with the right partner for commercializing, getting the final development done, and getting this drug onto the market so that it can be used with patients.
Okay, thank you.
Renee, how important is are the life science resources in the Philadelphia region to grow and to the success of Levolta?
So I think we've been very lucky to be in Philadelphia. I've had the opportunity to interact with some fantastic people. Life Sciences PA has been a fantastic resource where I've been able to meet other people in the life sciences area. As you mentioned, we have a number of the smaller networking groups. We have an active BioBreak group that meets here in the region. And then as part of Women in Bio, I've had the opportunity to meet people from all over our local life sciences ecosystem. So, scientists, other founders, attorneys, recruiters, financial professionals, you name it. If it's connected to life sciences, we have them in Women in Bio. So I think Philly's been fantastic.
And how would you say it compares to other life science hubs that you've experienced around the country?
So I have to caveat this with that I've never actually lived in any of the other life sciences hubs, but I certainly talked to a lot of people. And from those conversations, I think Philadelphia compares quite favorably. We have very active angel groups who support our early stage companies. We have active incubators, and we're developing the campuses for bringing life science companies together and helping them grow.
And I know we're getting short of time here, so I'll ask you one more question and then get it back to Kimon. Many of the guests who've come on our program have found that they've needed to acquire part of the company's intellectual property from local universities or tech transfer offices, pharma companies. Was that necessary for Levolta?
It was not. Volt 01 is the invention of our chief medical officer, Ketan Desai. So we did not license our technology from one of our universities. That said, we would certainly love the opportunity to work with some of the universities in the region because there's a lot of exciting stuff going on.
Agreed.
Renee, we may only have about 30 seconds for this question. So
Okay.
What are the biggest challenges you see for the greater Philadelphia area in terms of sustaining a vibrant life sciences community?
So I think one of the challenges is, of course, that it is a greater Philadelphia area in terms of geography. So some of us end up traveling quite a bit in order to get together in person. And from that standpoint, COVID has actually given us the opportunity to make a lot of those things virtual. I think probably the second one is money. Although we do have very active angel groups, we do need venture money in the area, I think. Capital is portable, but I still think it's going to be advantageous for the Philadelphia area to develop a venture capital ecosystem that could drive some of those early stage companies through into the next stages.
Okay, I'm going to have to wrap it up quickly, but thank you so much for answering that. I'd like to thank our special guest, Dr. Renee Stewart. Renee, thank you so much for participating this evening. It was a pleasure having you. Charlie, thanks for co-hosting.
My pleasure.
The next guest on Money Matters TV is Joel Naroff of Naroff Economic Advisors. Thank you all for watching this evening, and we'll see you again next time.